It is now very clear that we have the most incompetent head of the Electoral Commission in the names of Justice BYABAKAMA. When Justice BYABAKAMA was asked about Bobi Wine's running to exile after elections, he arrogantly and sarcastically answered like a P1 dropout. And it clearly shows you the deep hole we are in as our nation. When Justice BYABAKAMA appeared on NBS with Karen Mugume, he was asked and he answered like this. Here's the tape.
This election just concluded. Yes. Is this an election you want to put your name on? Is this an election where an opposition candidate campaigns in a bulletproof vest and now he's in exile 6 months later after the election?
You know, there was a candidate in 2021 who campaigned Mugurupa without shoes. That was his choice. It was his choice. There are those who campaigned.
It was not his choice.
It was his choice.
I was on Entebbe Road covering that particular nomination.
Yes.
When Patrick Amuriato Boy left the FDC offices to go for nomination.
Yes.
And I remember how he was, bundled into a vehicle and manhandled.
Yes.
For a candidate at presidential level.
Why was that?
Isn't that something we should regret?
Why was it done to him alone? Let me give you the background if you have the time. We had said because of the COVID restrictions that all candidates proceeding to the nominations venue should go with only 2 vehicles and not more, I think, than 10 people because of the SOPs. Candidate Amuriat said, forget about EC. We are going with all our supporters as much as we can, as many as we can, about 2,000. Now, the police were already alerted by his declarations. So when they realized on that day that he was intent on carrying out his threats, they said, since this man is supposed to be at the nomination venue, why don't we assist him and take him to the nomination? In the process, his shoes fell off.
That was quite an assist, would you say?
In the process, his shoes fell off. When they fell off, when he was delivered at the nomination venue and was informed, now, here are your shoes, he refused to put them on. Okay. No police officer stole that man's shoes. But then from there, that became his brandy. No shoes. You want to tell me that gentleman only had 1 pair of shoes?
I don't know.
The bulletproof.
Just 1 minute on Robert Chagulanyi.
Yes.
Does it concern you that he's in exile?
Look, how many Ugandans are living outside Uganda? How many Ugandans are outside their country? The other day, so many were shipped in from South Africa. They are back here. So it is a question of choice. You want to tell me all those Ugandans who are living outside Uganda were hardened?
That is Justice BYABAKAMA. For a person to come out and say that it was Bobi Wine's choice to run into exile, it shows you how being a judge doesn't necessarily translate to having wisdom. In fact, I realize that there are very many judges who are daft. It is the reality. Because even daft people study law. For a person who was the head of a process that is resulting to the arrest of people, is resulting to people running into exile, there must be a self-reflection which he is not seeing. In fact, he even answered wrongly. If I was Justice BYABAKAMA and asked that question, I would only go like, I'm not very knowledgeable about why Bobi Wine went outside the country. I only handle matters of the election, and you stop there. But to say that it's a personal choice, it's as if Bobi Wine had very many choices and decided to run away. There is no single person who can opt to run into exile when there is another choice. Bobi Wine running into exile, it was the only option which was there. Because it was an election where he was beaten. BYABAKAMA said nothing, like for example in Gulu. His teammates were always being abducted. His hotel rooms were always being attacked. How can you tell me that I go in a district to campaign and certain parts I cannot go there? How can you tell me that I'm going in a district to campaign and you give me a route which can take me hours before reaching a district? And the head of Electoral Commission was looking. So the purpose of this video, I've come to talk about the statements which are made by Justice BYABAKAMA, what it means for our politics, and most importantly, the statements we can learn from the politics of our nation. But before I do this, I want to let you know, if you're into this channel, please subscribe. And if you're watching this video from a different platform, please head on to YouTube, type in Sula Mawagari. There's a lot of content of this nature. If geopolitics and economics is what you want, this will be definitely the right channel for you to subscribe to. One, I keep on telling people that every time we change to get a new head of electoral commission, we even get the worst. And BYABAKAMA has proved to be the worst ever since we got independence. Under his election, we are seeing that long ago, people used to campaign if at least during elections, opposition leaders were allowed to campaign freely. But under BYABAKAMA, they are curtailed. You are told to go in a certain district, but there are some parts you cannot go to. It's the police to decide. Yes, during campaigns, you're even allowed to go in the markets. It's allowed under the penal code. Here, they don't allow you, and he's coming out to answer arrogantly. The way he answered those questions, he looked like a peripheral or an extension of the regime, and to a certain extent to the NRM. In the same election, you used to see NRM making, traversing on the road, making a merry, yet the opposition was curtailed. In 2020, you used to see opposition leaders being arrested in the middle of election. Yes, BYABAKAMA should understand that the reason as to why there was a war in 1980, it was because of a disputed election. Even when we are making our 1995 constitution, read the preamble, because he is a justice. It first talked about the history, basing on what we've passed through. They formed the constitution basing on what we passed through. Yes, BYABAKAMA should understand that when you're going to preside over election, you should understand that this regime came into power because of a disputed election, and we went into a 5-year war. Don't think that war can't happen again if you're handling election like a juvenile. It is the truth. To show you that he was arrogant, when he was asked about publishing the results of the 2020 selection, he answered as if it is a favor for him to do so, citing that in the law, it is not prescribed. In fact, he said these statements.
If you're not breaking any law by publishing the DR forms,
yes,
where is the problem?
No, if the law does not, you can only say, but Electoral Commission, can you please? But some of people think it is it is a command. You must publish the DR. You must give us the DR. Some of them have even insulted me and abused me.
Have you received personal threats in your life?
They come every day, but those are scarecrows. You see me showing any sign of being scared? Not at all.
Okay.
There are so many insults, so many abuses, and so on and so, threats and so on, that you see, I have told them, there's one of them whom I actually even engaged. I said, but instead of insulting me, why don't you come and you air your grievance to me? You want to arrest me? I said, no, I can give you my personal word. You will not be arrested. Because at times, you know what happens? Some of these people are misinformed. They talk out of, I'm sorry to say, lack of appreciation of the processes that are ingrained in the law. And for us, we are saying as EC, yes, people have said, but in the last elections, you published the results on your website. Why don't you do that again? We are going to do that. Mind you, the law says that after
6 months later.
Yes.
6 months later.
Actually, Canada, the law says that the Electoral Commission shall publish the report of the general elections within 6 months. We are still within 6 months because the last round of general elections occurred in February, around 6th Feb. The 6 months are set to elapse, I think, around August. We are still within time.
That is Justice BYABAKAMA. You clearly see the arrogance. Even if it's not required by the law to publish the results as soon as possible. And you hear, you know, sometimes even in court, if a case has a public eye, there is a way they handle it very quickly. There's a way they handle things. We finished an election of 2026, a brutal one. Very many people say it is disputed. What prevents you to publish those results, citing the law and hiding under the law? In fact, even if you are still within the limits of the law, that was not the pure answer. You would probably come out and say, because of some issues, we are supposed to maybe put them up, but we're going to put them up, and you end there. But for you to continue attacking those asking you to publish it, it clearly shows the incompetence. And for me, I keep on telling people that the elites are driving this country, are playing a Russian roulette with our nation. A person like Justice BYABAKAMA, who, by the way, fairly knows the law and is not implementing it, is either means two things. Either he doesn't understand the law, is daft, or he knows something he's doing and is acting as a peripheral of the state. And it shows you how our country is going. And if we don't stop these childish things, Uganda will be worse than this. Uganda is heading to a failed state. Of course, as my opinion is truly Mr. Makindi. If you're into this channel, please subscribe, like, and comment so that I'm motivated to do more of such videos. I will see you on another one. Peace.